Hi everybody, and welcome to my grief masterclass training number 2. I really hope that you enjoyed the first one and maybe learnt some new information that you didn't know before, and that maybe it'll have helped you in realizing if you're watching it because you're feeling sad or lonely or anxious or anything that is less than happy, that maybe you'll actually realized after watching the first video that maybe, just maybe, this isn't just about you. Of course it's about you, um, because only you can change how you feel. But maybe video number 1 made you actually realize that it's not just you. It's the information that you've been brought up with, or not been brought up with, that's been missing. And maybe your emotional education and your recovery from where you are now into an entirely different place is, yes, partly for you to change, but the other part is in realizing, actually, I need to learn a new set of skills here that I've never been taught. I need to unlearn and re-educate myself in the language of the heart. I need to know what to do when I'm hurting, not how to avoid it, how to go out drinking. I don't need to know how to be angry anymore because I already am, if that's you. Um, I don't need to take any more drugs. I don't need to distract myself with whatever it is you distract yourself with. And of course, there's loads to distract ourselves with now. So maybe you are realizing by now that there is something you can do, and part of this is about re-education. It's about learning the language of the heart, of loss, and of actually changing yourself. And you are the people that will be watching my videos. You're going to be the people that are wanting to change, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. And if this is you, I want you to know that this too was me. I have been in some very dark and desperate places in my life. If you ever work with me or come to any of my workshops or inner circle programs, you'll get to hear my story in depth. But I've been through a lot from very young. I was sexually molested and abused by by my headmaster at my primary school. I was divorced and married and divorced, sorry, by 24, single parent. My first husband gambled and left me huge amounts of debt. My father suddenly dropped dead in the middle of all of this. And I then went on to other catastrophic relationships that absolutely just devastated me, on top of the devastation that was already created. So that's just a snippet of the things that I've been through. So I have been through some very bad times in my life. And really, statistically, I probably shouldn't be in the position I'm in terms of being so emotionally okay and healthy and intelligent, emotionally intelligent. So that is where I want to help you. This is the information that I have, and it changed my life completely. And my whole life really has been, as well as about that stuff and overcoming it, it's been about searching for the answers, because I felt bad. I felt really bad. I mean, there were days I didn't even know how to carry on or get up or do anything other than get through each day for the sake of my son. Because that was what was important to me. But it was hard, extremely hard. And that's just been my particular journey and experience. And so, as I was saying, my journey's all been about trying to find the answers. And it's led me, as I said in video 1, down a really twisted path of self-discovery and knowledge and learning and education, and trying to find something to help me from feeling so desperate. I was able to function. So a lot of people, if I hadn't been able to function, I probably would have got the help earlier. But because I was so capable, I just seemed to go into survival mode. So no matter what happened to me, I just got up and carried on and got up and carried on, making more mess out of this sort of get up and carry on state that I was in. Um, so I got the information, but it was never enough, because what I didn't realise is all I was doing was accumulating mental stuff, head stuff, intellect. I was accumulating how and why, and that was all very well, and it gave me some understanding. But my heart was still broken. That was the missing element. And it was when I realised that my heart was broken that I could start to change it, and I could actually do something about it emotionally, and not just do this analytical talking sort of approach that I'd been doing all those years. So I know if you're not in a good place that it probably doesn't feel nice. We don't compare losses, by the way, as you would have learned from video 1. Your loss doesn't get compared. There's no kind of hierarchy of loss. There's no hierarchy of going, well, yes, I've got more pain than you, that I deserve to have this because this is me, and this is no, this is ridiculous. But this is how ridiculous we've got with our emotions, is we're comparing our losses to others and working out who's worse off. I mean, that is just mad, and it doesn't help us. Intellectually, we might be able to say to ourselves, okay, yep, that person's, I'm glad that's not me. Or maybe we can't even think that. But if we do, does it help us recover? Does that, knowing that that person over there has gone through that, does that actually put our hearts back together again? Does it help us? No. So let's not do that, because it's unhelpful and it doesn't work. So behind me, I've got some piece of paper over some words there, and there's 5 things that I really want to go over in this second masterclass today. Things that I feel are really important that you know emotionally. There's so much to talk about, and I want to try and keep these videos to about 20 minutes each, so that you, maybe that's a tube journey or a bus journey or a bath or something, you can actually listen or watch or hear at least what I'm saying in 20 minutes without taking up too much of your time. So behind number 1 is something we get told. So we get told, as I spoke last time, about comparison. So we get told that person over there is, don't worry, I know someone worse off than you. That person over there, think about that. Now, that doesn't work, because that just appeals to the intellect. And in our mind, we might be able to say through our heartbreak, oh yeah, that person is worse off than us. We might be able to think it, but we don't feel it, because no one is worse off than you. Your pain is your pain. So someone else's pain doesn't fix your pain. It maybe stir up some empathy, but that will be it. It doesn't fix you. It doesn't help you. And by the way, you don't need fixing. Grievers don't need fixing. You just need to be listened to. You just need to be heard. I'll be talking a bit about this later on, because there's very specific ways to listen. No one's even taught you how to listen. That's how bad our education is emotionally. We think listening is advising, and it's not. Anyway, let me go back to the first points on the board. So number 1 I want to talk about. So we've got this idea of comparison. We've also got this idea up here where when you approach someone and tell them what's happened to you, maybe you've come home and your partner's left you, you've found out they've cheated on you, or you've had a death in the family, or you've had a miscarriage, or something like that. Something awful has happened. First thing you will do is seek out people to talk to. So I'm just going to shut this little blind here, excuse me, because the sun's going to come through. Is seek people to talk to. So as you're talking to them, one of the first things that they're going to want to say to you, as well as comparing, which I've just spoken about before, is don't feel. Then they'll say something. And it's usually don't feel bad, and they'll give you a reason not to feel bad. Don't feel bad. They're in a better place. Don't feel bad. If they were old, it might be something like they had a good life, they lived for so many years. If they died, they might be finding some solace in that they went quickly, or that they're not in pain anymore. There'll be a reason, an intellectual reason, to make you think to try and heal you, for that person to say to you, don't feel bad. But you do. You do feel bad. No matter what that person says to you, you feel bad. And I know it's very counterintuitive, because our human need is to want to comfort someone and to help them. But the best thing you can do is jump in that pit and be with someone. Despite how much you want to advise them and console them and cheer them up and get them to look on the bright side, despite the worst thing you can do in these moments. So you will have heard, don't feel bad, don't feel sad, don't feel something. So in other words, don't feel the way that you feel when you do. And it doesn't help. It keeps you trapped, because it makes you feel you're wrong. And you're not wrong. It'll make you feel wrong for feeling the way that you do. But you're allowed to feel the way that you do, because you've just had a loss. And you're allowed to feel bad after loss. That is the normal thing. We can't avoid pain. You can't avoid going through the feelings that you have. And avoiding them will lead to so many problems down the line. You've just got to go through it. You can't avoid it. But going through it means you come out of it a very different person, and you come out of it. You actually do come out of it, as opposed to getting stuck in a quagmire of trying not to feel how bad you do when you do. So don't feel. So the second one there is go and get another one. So we learn this one particularly around romantic breakups. And we get told very quickly that there's plenty more fish in the sea, that maybe he or she was no good for you, and that you could have anybody you wanted, and let's go out and get another one. Now, intellectually, it may be true that that person was no good for you, or that you could do better, or whatever the analogy is that's given to you. But that's not going to be true for your heart, because your heart is going to be hurting right now. And that's okay. Going to get another one is only going to set you up for more trouble later down the line, because you're not going to go and get another one with a clean heart, let alone a clean mind. You're still going to be thinking about someone else. And how bad is it to be with one person and think about someone else? You wouldn't want someone to do that to you. We mustn't do it. And at the end of the day, you will fail in that, because it's going to catch up with you. You can't avoid this stuff. So going to get another one doesn't work. It can be a big distraction, of course, and that's what people do. They can get so distracted in relationships that they're just avoiding pain. That's what I did, which you'll hear about at some point if ever you work with me. But this idea of going to get another one just doesn't work. It doesn't pan out, and it's not good for you. And of course, it's all very well in romantic breakups to go and get another one. But what happens in bereavement? But if I've relied all my life on going to get another one, or going to get another pet, the minute my one pet dies, I'll go and get another one before I even have time to resolve my feelings for that animal. What happens when someone I treasure dies, someone in my family dies? Can I go and get another one? No. Oh, well, let me rely on the one that I've always used. Oh, I can't. So then what? You end up lost, because you can't just go and do that thing that you've always done that's sort of worked but hasn't. So then you end up stuck. And that's where most people end up, just stuck, living in these moments of temporary happiness or temporary joy, making do, distracting themselves, making do. And if they feel sad, or they feel low, or they feel moments of despair, they just distract themselves some more. But that means you lose, because you never get out of jail. You never get rid of this pain, and you do not have to live in pain anymore. You don't have to be in that place. That's just purely learned. That's all you learn, how to respond to loss, because that's all any of us have ever learned. Because society hasn't been set up emotionally. It's been set up materially. It's been set up intellectually. It's been set up by entertainment. But when it comes to the other stuff, we're just flapping. So going to get another one doesn't quite work. Now, I just want to reveal the next two that I have down for you that I want to talk about. Give it time. So, time heals all wounds, or just give it time. You'll get over it in time. Now, the amount of people I ask in workshops, how many of you still feel like the person that left you, that love of your life, or the person that died? How many of you are healed now? It's been 5 years or 10 years. I might get one person put their hand up, and that's great, but it's very rare. Most people will not be healed because of the passage of time. You can get different perspectives in time, and sometimes we need time to work something out, but to rely on time to heal a broken heart is not going to work. So you have to take action. If you cut your arm, if it was bleeding, you would go and get a plaster, you would put ointment on it, you would do something. If you had crashed your car, you wouldn't wait for time to come along and put it back together again. You'd have to take it to the mechanic. And yet we have a broken heart and we think it's okay just to leave it. Oh, I'll just give it time. But it doesn't work. It just will not work. And all you'll do is just keep distracting yourself, keeping yourself busy, doing things all the time, because you're trying to fill your time up, because you're waiting for time to come along and make yourself feel better, but it won't. I remember in my second long-term relationship, I was so desperately unhappy and I felt so trapped in that relationship. I kept thinking that if I just gave it time, I would work out how to leave him. If I just gave it time, somehow I'd find another person to come along and rescue me. Prince Charming in my mind, this idea. Every time I would go out, there'd be this Mr. Perfect to come and sort me out, which is relying on time. But what that did was it just meant I really didn't take the action I should have taken. And I ended up staying in that relationship for 7 years of my life. I should not have been with him. He should have, I probably had fun with him for a week or two, and that would be it. Just go and have some nice dates. But no, not me. So this idea of relying on time is useless, and all you do is waste it. And the other one, lies. So what I want to talk about with lies is that we lie to ourselves. We are so used to pretending we're okay and lying to others about how we feel. We start to believe those lies ourselves, but they're not true, because you're not okay. And time won't heal you, only action does. You can't go and get another one. You do feel bad. Distractions only work temporarily, or you can just distract yourself forever. But you know, when you go into bed at night, that's when you know, or when you wake up in the morning, or when you're on your own and the distractions aren't there. How do you feel then? So that we've got to stop lying to ourselves, and we've got to stop lying to others. And these conversations have to be honest. But that doesn't mean we go around Tesco or Sainsbury's telling everybody how we feel, of course. I mean, I'm talking about opening to friends, or opening to professionals, or opening up and just having honest, or opening up to yourself, of course, most importantly, talking to you about how you feel as well. But obviously you've got to make it safe. You can't just go around telling people stuff, because it doesn't always work like that, but we'll talk about that another time. But for now, if you can just get emotionally honest with yourself about how you feel, that's a great start to your emotional recovery, because that's what it's about, your recovery from grief, your recovery from heartbreak, your recovery is everything. And the last thing I want to talk about before we end is listening. So most of us, sorry, my board nearly fell down there. Most of us don't know what it is to listen. And we're not taught this skill. Most of us believe that listening means when you're talking to me, I'm going to be sitting here and I'm going to be thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to the person when they stop talking? Oh my gosh, I better come up with some good advice. This is awful. Oh gosh. So we might be able to say some things like, oh, I'm really sorry, that sounds awful. Why don't you? And then chip in. Whereas, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, as counterintuitive as this is going to feel, the thing is just to be there and not say too much other than the things like, oh no, this is awful, I'm so sorry, I don't know what to say. What happened? Give people a chance to talk. And then when they're finished talking, you don't need to come up with any advice. That is the biggest gift you can give anybody. Don't advise them. Unless they ask it, and then you can either say you've got no clue or have a think about it and let them know. But most people don't want advice. They don't like advice because they don't need fixing. They just need to be heard. So listening to your loved ones and your children is a real skill, and it takes practice because it's not something that we're used to doing. We're so used to fixing that we've forgotten how to listen. So thank you for listening to my masterclass video number 2. It's really an honour to share some of this stuff with you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me your time in watching this. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave me some comments with the video, or share it with those who you would like to if it's been of value to you. Look out for my video number 3 in a couple of days, and I'll be sharing with you some more of the things that you will have been told that you shouldn't do, that you shouldn't have been told. And also I'm going to be talking in detail about what I call the language of loss. So I'm going to be talking about incorrect language that you will think is right but it's not, and the language that you should be saying. And these are really useful tools because they take you out of the prison cell that you've put yourself in with your heartbreak. So look out for that video, and thanks again for watching. Bye now.